Hello, my creative friends, and welcome to another episode of The Daily Prompt. This is my optional viewing weekly personal vlog entry to give you some ideas and insight into the things that are going through my head as I vlog this journey, trying to build an independent film studio from the ground up. This adventure is... The weirdest thing is that because of the episode that I did yesterday talking about prompt versus fast, I feel like I'm being self-indulgent by personal vlogging, by talking about sort of what's going on with me, because I feel like I just did that yesterday. It's my vlog. I'm allowed to do it. It's very odd that I'm feeling a little self-indulgent doing what seems to be, in some ways, two personal entries in one weekend, even though it's not really yesterday's. I have this weird thing where it's like whenever I talk about fast, I feel like I'm being self-indulgent, and yet I always feel like that's the one thing that people tune out to. And anyway, I won't go down that road. It's just so here's what where I'm at this week is, I feel like it's too early to be at a crossroads, and yet I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I feel like the vlog, this series needs to change, because, so how do I put it? So the big challenge for me along the way is, I have always done everything in the screenwriting world from the perspective of what is in the best interest of the writer. I have not done a lot of things that I could have done, or that I should have done, or that financially would have made more sense along the way, because they're not in the best interest of the writer. I have tried many times to create little short courses for writers, so that they're cheaper, so that people can sort of get to know me and my content better. I have tried to do blogging. I have tried to position myself in different ways. I had somebody suggest that I do a Udemy course. It's not. I think that's ultimately not in the best interest of writers, and so I don't believe creating a screenwriting course is in your best interest. So I have not created a screenwriting course. That's not what I do. That's not what I've done. That's not what I built. I recognize that what I built is this sort of comprehensive, total thing. And because it's big and it's massive, it's a little unruly and it's a little intimidating, and people don't necessarily jump into it, even though literally it is what is in the best interest of the writer. It is. And so I'm at this point now where I'm looking at the vlog, and you probably sensed this if you watched yesterday's episode, but I'm at this point now where I'm starting to feel like, is this the best idea? Like, is this the best way to go about this? I can continue to teach stuff. I can continue to go into detail on my perspective and my knowledge and the things that I've learned and acquired along the way. But if it's not in the writer's best interest, and if it's only in my best interest, or only in the best interest of what I'm trying to build, if I've always had this weird dichotomy where it's like, I feel like if I build what is in, I've always believed that if I build what is in my best interest, that is also simultaneously in the writer's best interest, I create this win-win situation. We all benefit. We work together to lift ourselves, to lift each other. If I create something that's in my best interest, that's ultimately not in the writer's best interest, I feel like that's no longer a win-win, and I feel like I always want to err on the side of doing something in the writer's best interest, and I feel like that's dumb. I feel like that's short-sighted. I feel like that's what has kept me from being known in this space. I've been so resistant to self-promotion or promotion of any kind or selling something. I've been so resistant to it that I step back from it, and it ultimately undermines the win-win nature of the thing. But I don't know that there's anything I can do about it. I feel like I have my days where I wonder why the hell I went down this road in the screenwriting thing. What I'm going to be doing here of building a little a no-budget film to prove that it can be done, to prove that a story-driven film is, can get an audience and make some money and build from there. What I'm doing, literally, I could have done 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Was on the train to do that 25 years ago and got detoured by this ambition to build this film studio. And just, I don't know why it's been so hard to get writers on board. We've had a few, and those of you who you're doing it and you're keeping me going. I'm inspired by you. There are a lot of people who express a lot of enthusiasm but don't follow through. There are a lot of people who have a lot of early enthusiasm, like overwhelming volumes of early enthusiasm, and then just like drop like a lead balloon and disappear entirely, which is fine. I'm at the point where I've been working with writers now in like trying to teach writers how to write stuff producers can actually make for 20 years now. I've interacted with a lot of writers along the way, and I've come to really believe that every single writer is on their own unique journey, and every single one of those journeys may come together with mine, and then will probably diverge at some point. Sometimes that happens and goes like that. Super frustrating from my point of view, but understandable. It's just the nature of life and how we learn and how we perceive things, and so I'm at this point with the vlog already 6 weeks in. Crazy to me. 6 weeks in, I'm just like, all those thoughts that I had before of all that sort of all that evaluation of the win-win situation and the dynamics that make it work. I feel like I'm proving what I have long believed. I'm proving that you go this way, and it's not going to get you where you're trying to go, despite the fact that it should. On paper, it should. You create a win-win situation. You should attract people to this part of the win because they win out of it. But then they don't, and it's perplexing to me. So I think if you watched last week, and I was talking about, and yesterday I said it again, talking about dividing the days up of the week. I've had some great comments. Thank you for people who have commented and said, don't do that. One of the comments was, it's good if we don't know what's coming, or something to that effect. So it's the idea being that you just sort of drop whatever you're going to drop on us, and it's sort of that expanding idea. I totally agree. I think that's the best format, but ultimately, there's also the reality of why I'm doing this and what the end game is. I think I'm going to divide it up into days of the week. Probably not this coming week, maybe not even the following week, but probably pretty soon thereafter. I don't know if it's going to be as alliterative as Motivational Mondays and Feedback Fridays and that kind of thing, but definitely a Q&A day. So if you have any questions, specific questions about the industry, about your project, about how to do this, or about anything I've said in the vlog, or whatever, just anything at all, business, industry, technique, process, anything, pop it in the comments. or send me a note on Twitter or Instagram, so that I can start really addressing Q&A, do a proper day of Q&A. There's going to be at least one day, probably 2 days, that are going to be entirely devoted to the project that I'm building. I will try to spin it into a prompt for you at the end based upon whatever I'm doing that day. There will at least be a day that goes into technique. I had this idea of doing like a random fast day, maybe a fast Friday, like a random day where we just sort of randomly, not a random day, but where we just randomly pick some step from fast and we just go and we say, here's what it is, or here's an idea or insight from it. And I sort of use that as a riff for what teach you some sort of idea or technique or inspiration. There's literally hundreds, thousands possibly of them in fast. So like, let's just pick them at random and start putting them out there. That kind of thing. I don't know about feedback, just because the challenge that I have, I do still want to do the feedback loop. The big challenge I have with feedback loop, a couple challenges I have with feedback loop. First of all, I know people like it. I agree with you that it's really good. I agree with you that it's really necessary. It's probably the best way for you to see what I can bring to the table. However, it's time consuming. It's ultimately not necessarily good for you. I'm a big believer that feedback is so specific to the project that we're giving feedback on, that you can quite easily take that feedback out of context and apply it in the wrong way. I talked to somebody recently who'd watched a bunch of the feedback episodes, had sort of used what was learned there and applied some of that, and it does increase the quality of writing, but it then masks other problems, more foundational problems that ultimately... Here's the thing. If you can create a script that on the surface looks good, but that on the deeper layers doesn't work because of the harder aspects of storytelling, the story building, the depth and breadth of your story, how to convey nuances, the pacing, just the images that it invokes that may have nothing to do with your project. If all of that is not incorporated into it, it becomes more, it gives you a false sense of where you're at. And so that's my we go back to that idea from just a minute ago where, like at the end of the day, I want to do the things that are in your best interest. And, who am I to tell you what's in your best interest? But at the end of the day, I have worked with thousands of writers. And so I've seen, you give this kind of advice and this kind of help, and it sends them in this direction. And if that's not the direction they need to go, aren't you better to withhold that and go in this direction, send them on the right path, or on a path that is more suitable to them getting where they're trying to go. At the end of the day, this is not, look, I want to make movies. I want to build my film studio. But as far as teaching screenwriting and all that, I'm not in it for me. I'm in it to help you create what's right for you. I don't want you to tell the stories that I want you to tell. I don't want you to write the way I want you to write. I want you to write the way that you want to write. The system that I built is not about do it this way. It's about let's go step by step through the process that you experience idea to story to screenplay to the sale, that you experience that, and then you find your path. You customize your path. You do it your own way. I don't want you to do it my way. I don't want you to do it. I don't know you. I don't know how you think creatively. I don't know what your ambitions are. And because of that, I've designed something that will help anyone because it's the path. It's not do it this way. It's a hard thing to understand until you've seen it, but it colors how I think about the things that I do along the way. So even something as simple as a vlog like this, where I'm talking to camera for 20 minutes a day, it's not. I worry that it's. that it's not giving you enough context. It's not giving you enough. I can talk about an idea, but I can't give you the whole idea. That comes through experience. That comes through doing, right? And I worry that giving you the idea makes you feel like you have the idea, makes you feel like you have the experience, but you don't. Even though you have the idea and then you go off and try to apply that idea or take action on that idea, that doesn't give you the full. I just worry about these things. And so I think that's where my frustration comes from. I know whenever I say I'm frustrated, people, don't be frustrated. I'm not frustrated in the sense of damn it, why can't this work? It's more just how do I crack this nut? How do I solve this grand problem? And maybe it's bigger than just me, and I can't. I'm one guy. I can't solve the problem, but I feel like I see the problem more clearly than at least anyone else that I'm seeing, and have mapped out a solution that so far works in all cases. It remains to be seen if it works in all cases, but so far it has. And how is that? I don't know. Yeah. So where am I? With this vlog? I want to not be here. I want to not be in front of this. I want to not just be talking to camera like this. The only way that I can go out into the world, start making stuff, start doing this series from there, is it's either just going to be a matter of time when we get to the production stage, or it's going to be somebody volunteering and jumping in to help out. If you're in the Los Angeles area and you have video skills and you have editing skills, and you have any interest in getting involved in any of this, reach out. Let me know here in comments. Let me know on Instagram or Twitter or via email. If the window has closed, if that tiny little window has closed by the time you see this video, we'll let you know at that time. So it's, reach out. Who knows? The window can close and then it might open up at some point. It's the nature of the tiny little windows. Is they're tiny. But I would love for this to get a little bit more. Here's the thing. Bottom line, I don't want to be a screenwriting teacher. I never have. It was not my passion. I want to make movies. That's what I've wanted to do since forever. Teaching screenwriting and doing that is a little bit maddening. Helping writers do what's in their own best interest is a little maddening, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm passionate about it because of where it leads, not because this is what I want to be doing, right? I want to teach this. I want to do this series. I want to help you so that we can get there, so that you can write stuff I or somebody else can make, so that there are enough people writing stuff that I can make that we can just churn out production and I can basically live on a movie set. Movie sets all around the world. That's my passion. That's where I want to be. So in that sense, like all of us, I have to do what I have to do. There's one of my favorite quotes. If you've read my book, I've used it there. If you've watched other videos, I've used it there. One of my favorite quotes is from the late great acting teacher Sanford Meisner, who said, "That which hinders your task is your task." I feel like I have been doing that task that has hindered my task for decades now, and I want to be at that next. I want to be doing that next thing. I can't just abandon all of this because I believe in it too much, right? So it's like, but I would very much like for anybody who's watching this right now, if anyone's watching this right now, I wonder how many unsubscribes I get after this one. Anyway, if anybody's watching this right now, I would love to have you be, a part of that. I would rather I would rather all of our energies go into that direction, building the film studio, building the, and, you know, not just making no budget films. That's a proof of concept thing. That's a show you how to get from point A to point B thing. You know, I want to make lots of big budget projects over time. And this is how we get there. And it's just at the end of the day, it's just a long, hard road. You just got to stick with it, and you got to persist even when you're not necessarily feeling it. Even when you're frustrated with everybody around you and even the people that you're trying to help. I mean, it's just the truth. It's just that's the truth, you know? I think if people understood that the secret to your own success is helping other people get to their success. I think if people really grasped that and really understood that, I think this thing I've been trying to build all these years would be further along. I don't know how to teach that. I don't know how to convey that. I think it's just something the penny has to drop at some point. And it's not about helping someone else for your own ulterior motive. It's about helping someone else get what they want. It is my belief that what I have built helps writers get what they want. I think until writers understand that dynamic, going through it is it's always going to be a little bit behind the eight ball. I've told people who know about this project that I'm doing here that this probably won't take off until, I might have even said it to you on here. I've forgotten what I've said in half of these, so I'm probably going to start repeating myself because I'm a little senile. But I've told people along the way that I don't think this will take off in any significant way until probably we make 3 films. I don't think even the first one's going to be a low budget thing. So the idea is super cool. I'm really excited about, I'm going to start talking about the story of it and all that kind of stuff. Not the story of it. I'm going to start talking about the project itself this coming week. I think that despite how cool that is, that may generate some interest, but this thing and building the indie film studio is not going to truly take off until probably the 3rd film, and people see that it's an ongoing, consistent thing. And it pains me that it has to take that for people to see it. It's those invisible opportunities. Anyway, so where to this week? I'm probably going to keep doing what I'm doing this week. We may start shaping it into what the days of the week thing is going to be. But I welcome your input as well. So if you have, I asked in yesterday's episode about questions or opinions or what you want out of this. I reiterate today, what do you want out of it? If I can give you what you want, it is my belief that that's going to help me get where I'm trying to go to. So, that I think is what win-win situation is all about. That's my belief. It has been challenged over the years. I have had some self-doubt about that particular belief that creating a win-win situation is how to get where you're trying to go, or helping other people is how you can get where you're trying to go. But, it's part of me. It's part of who I am. So that's what I try to do. Anyway, wow, this is a bit rambly today. I don't know. Is this the most self-reflective one that I've had? Is this depressing you? Sorry. You can do it. This is a Sunday, so obviously don't feel any need to do anything. Just reflect. Take this as your inspiration. Take this and say, wow, Jeff was in a really reflective mood today. Is he okay? I don't know. Let's tune in tomorrow and see if he's okay. Or maybe next personal vlog entry and see where we're at. It's all going to be fine. I will continue to persist because that's just what I'm doing. That's my thing. This show may end up morphing to be much more about me and my journey than about the prompt or about helping you learn stuff. I worry that would not be as enjoyable for you, or that you would not get as much out of that. But I also, in trying to analyze the situation, think that may actually be the better choice to help you get where you're trying to go as well. If I do go down that road, that's why. Because ultimately, there's no need for me to do this show if I'm not trying to help you get where you're trying to go. I always wanted to be mutually beneficial, but ultimately I can just go make my film and build my audience there and do all that stuff without doing this show. So if I'm continuing the show, even if it goes in a different direction, it is because I believe at that point that that direction it's going is in your best interest. I think even if you might want it to go in a different direction, tell me in the comments for sure. But I do think that I'm never going to do this just for my own ego. I'm doing this to try to help you. So even on my personal entries like this, where I want to start recording the uncomfortability of where I'm at and what I'm doing, or I don't want it to all be roses and happiness and sunshine, right? Like I want you guys to see my struggles and my frustrations as well, because it's important for you to know that that's part of it. I will get through it. I will survive and be better for it. It's the only way to get there. So take comfort in that, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I've gone on too long. Week 6. Wow. This is a big project. Let's persist. Let's soldier on for another day. Take action. Or not. It's Sunday. But join me tomorrow. I think it'll be fun. Thanks for watching. See you then.